and welcome back to Talk with Mo. Today in the studio, I have with me Mrs. Kemi Oloidi, who's going to share about her real life story, like all of our guests, about how she was able to live as a wife of an expatriate, traveling from one part of the globe to the other. So much so that she penned it down in a book. You heard that right. She authored a book about her real life experiences. It's so great to have you with us here, Kemi.
Thank you very much, Mo. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. You know, I've read your book and it inspired me to actually begin giving out your books on this show to some of our newly married guests who I know will be traveling from time to time. But just before we get into talking about traveling the globe, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, my name is Kemi Oloidi. I'm a mother. I'm a good wife. I think I need to emphasize that. I'm a teacher and I'm a child of the Most High God. I love the Lord.
Wow. I love how you say, let me emphasize that I'm a good wife. Why is that important?
You see, I think it's important now to let people know that you are a good wife. What we have out there these days is not encouraging. People tend to tell stories about the negative part of marriage, what is not working, what has failed, neglecting the good side of the story, neglecting that it could be fulfilling, it could be enjoyable. You could have all that you want in it. And that's why when I meet people, I tell them I'm a wife and I'm good at that.
You're good at being a wife.
Of course.
So if we were to meet your husband, Mr. Oloidi, is this what he will say about you? How would he describe you?
I trust so. You see, many people have asked him in the past, is she a good wife? And his answer is always, a very sound yes. Yes. Because you see, I met my husband when we were young. I was in school. We grew together. We did many things together. When I say we did many things together, I mean even with the families. With his family, with my family, we did so much together. So to now say I'm a good wife, it's not just to my husband, it's also to his people, it's also to his friends.
And that's important within the African context, isn't it? Because I know that they've always said when you're married, you're not married to your husband alone, but to his family. And in the Nigerian context, you're married even to the extended family.
You have to.
So how did that play out in your own, when you say that you were good to his family and your family and that you did things together? Just tell us a little bit, what kind of things did you do together and what did you do to make that possible?
Like I said, we did things together, we grew together. We were friends before we became, husband and wives. We started as being friends. Like I go to his place, I meet his people, as his friend, not as his girlfriend now, but as his, like we have platonic friends. So we grew into, loving each other. So I get to know the family very well before we went into marriage. We did things together like, what ladies should do together with the sisters. I pray with the sisters. The mom would pray with me. The mother lived with us for some times before she passed. That in itself is a lot as a wife, to have your mother-in-law live with you. It's not bread and butter. And I'm not saying this because I think, I've done something, that is really out of the... yes. But you have to be yourself. You have to know who you are. You have to be authentic to be able to do that successfully. My mother-in-law and I had a kind of rapport like a mother and a child.
Oh, wow.
Like I would say, Grandma, be careful. And Grandma would say, Kemi, I don't think you are serious.
Ah.
You know, it's that kind of relationship, and it's really good. I enjoyed it. The same with my sister-in-laws and my brother-in-law. So my sister-in-law, I wrote it in the book.
Yes.
She would help me to stay in my store when I'm not there. I mean, that's the kind of relationship we had. We have. It's not to say we didn't have our
differences.
Yes.
Of course, we all do.
Yes, we all do. We came back, we sat, we move on again.
Absolutely. So, in fact, even within our own families, we have differences, and they are still family, and we have to live with that. Now, I know the book is essentially about your husband, who traveled from one country to another, and that necessitated you having to move every time with him. Now, as a wife, I was in the same position when we migrated from Nigeria to Canada. How did that impact your progression in career? What was your career like?
It kind of impacted it a great deal, and I have to say this. When I was in Nigeria, I was working with the federal government. I had my small business as well. And when he announced to me that we will be traveling, it didn't really occur to me what I was going to lose. I didn't really take that in initially. But when we started making plans, then it occurred to me that I've built quite something for myself. And to leave all those and follow him, then I became fearful. I was afraid. How do I start again? So I sat him down. We had a good talk. What's going to happen to me? How am I going to live without an income? Because I'm going to, leave everything and go with you. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to get something where we are going.
Get a job.
How do we do this? Because we were moving to a country that I've never had before.
What country was that?
That was Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan, yes. I have never heard of Uzbekistan in my life. I knew nothing about Uzbekistan. I know the language is going to be a barrier. So I didn't know what would be there for me. So, and my husband said, don't worry, we take things as they come. But be assured, we are in this together.
We are in this together.
That is exact words. We are in this together.
How comforting was that for you?
Very comforting. Like, I was like...
It allayed your
and
fears.
my husband, if he says something, you can take it to, the bank. So when he said that, I knew that was it. That's all I needed. That was all I needed at that particular moment. It was tough for my boss to let me go as well. If you're a very good officer, that's what we call ourselves. If you're a good officer, it will be very difficult for your boss to just say bye-bye. And so when I announced that I would be leaving, it was like, are you kidding me? You are doing well. I just got promoted. You're doing well. You have a great chance in the department. Why do you want to throw all those away? And I'm like, no, I have to go with my husband. My husband is going. I mean, we prayed for his promotion and everything, and this is it now. So I have to support him. And my boss was like, that's okay. But if you want to go try it out and then come back to your job will be waiting for you, but for a short period. So I told my husband, he wasn't happy about that. I wrote it in the book. Like, why is he saying maybe you won't even like it? Why is he suggesting that? But anyway, that was just, how hard it was. It was hard for me. It was hard for my boss. And my husband was trying, to manage everything. So...
And so you went off to Uzbekistan?
To Uzbekistan.
How long were you in Uzbekistan?
For like 2 years.
2 years? So you barely settled?
We barely settled.
Before the next move?
Yes.
To where now?
To Kenya.
And how long were you in Kenya?
2 years as well.
Wow. So in most of those places
It
you
was
went
just
to,
short.
2 years.
It wasn't even up to 2 years.
In some
Just
cases.
about, yes.
In some cases.
Yes.
And there was, at what point did you ever feel like, I am done, I can't do this anymore? Did that point ever come?
It did many times. Like the first time in Uzbekistan, it was hard because it was my first. I never left Nigeria. In fact, I barely left my states. So now going to Uzbekistan, we were actually standing out. We were like, you know, the only black family in the city. And so at a point I was losing it. I didn't want all of those, you know, like the superstar. You go out, you see a lot of people looking at you, wanting to find out who you are. So at a point I was like, let me go back with the children. This is your job. And because my boss promised that I could come back to my job, so I was like, I'm still within the window period now. Let me go back. And again he said, you know, I told you we are in this together. Nobody's leaving anybody, we stay together. And again it clicked that I have to support him. I have to be there for my children and I have to support him. This is his life. This is his passion. He loved his job. So,
how old were your children when you first moved?
My first was going to 5, and my second was just 1.
So they were pretty young.
Very little.
So they probably liked the fact that they were jetting from one part of the...
No, they
didn't.
They were good kids though, no tantrum, no sickness. They just followed us and they are happy wherever you put them. So it was easy for both of us. When it comes to our children, they are wonderful children. So there was nothing to worry.
When did the traveling, when did it finally stop? Has it stopped? I should ask. I think the question should be, has the traveling stopped?
I think it's ongoing. It's ongoing. Because you see, we've been exposed to this life. And it's difficult to now settle and say, okay, this is it. Like somebody was saying to me, you people are always traveling. I said, yes, because if I didn't, you see, the kind of life we have, or let me say we had, has impacted us in a way that we didn't realize. For us to be able to settle down, don't let me even say to be able to, because we are not there yet. So most of the time you find out that we are going to here, to there. If I have nowhere to go, I will go to Lagos because we are based in Ibadan. Within a month, my husband and I will say, we are sitting too much, let's go to Lagos. So that's been the pattern. And I wouldn't say necessarily that is a positive thing, because then you are always constantly wanting to move. And again, I have not been able to form a very, let me say, deep friendship, because we are constantly moving. And I'm always feeling the next move is coming. Why should I attach? Why should I attach? The first time, it was hard for me. And that was in Belgium. In Uzbekistan, I didn't have that kind of friendship. In Kenya, I did. They were basically Nigerians. But when we got to Belgium, there weren't many Nigerians for me to befriend. So I picked my friends all over the world. And there was this particular lady from America, her name is Sue. We're still friends, my good friend. She's in Kenya now, maybe she left. She went for missionary, thing in Kenya. So I picked her and we clicked very well. She helped me a lot. And then it was time for her to leave. I couldn't believe how devastating that was. I never knew I would felt that way. So ever since I decided I wasn't going to be that close to any other person because I also need my, mental, yes. It was really devastating for me. But Sue and I will connect on phone every week. We will speak, we will pray together, we will talk, that kind of helped me a lot until I was able to move out of that phase. But ever since, I've not been able to really connect with people, and that is a negative. So when we are talking about, the perks of traveling, of being an expat, you also look at the other side of it. And so we learn to balance our life. Otherwise, it's tough.
The intro video to your book, the book you wrote, I couldn't help but notice when you said you moved from one place and through the bazaars of different cities. Now, during the daytime, what did you find? What filled your day? How did you occupy yourself? Because I can imagine that you couldn't even find the time to get a proper job. So apart from taking care of the family, what occupied you?
To be honest, I was able to find a job in some place, like in Uzbekistan, I was able to find a job.
Wow.
Yes, because I told my daughter was 1 when we moved and she turned 2. By law, you have to take her to a preschool. She can no longer be staying at home with me, and she was a good part of my life. And now she's going to school, and I was wondering then, what do I do? My husband is always traveling. So I was thinking, what's next? What next? What am I going to do to get myself busy? Because, we have to be busy in life. So when I took her to the daycare that she was preschool that she was supposed to go, I spoke with the director. I said, listen, I'm a teacher by profession. This girl has been keeping me busy. The law has, mandated that she has to come to school. What do I do? Would you employ me? And she said, oh, Mrs. Oloidi, I'm very sorry. We have the numbers of staff that we need, that we can cope with. Right now, we don't have space for another hand. I said, even as a volunteer, don't pay me. Let me just come in to help. She said, I'm sorry. There is a principle that you have a number of adults to a number of children. So we can't have more than that. It will be a distraction for the children. So I understood that. And I said, okay, but just in case, know that I'm available. Even as a volunteer, you don't have to pay me. And she said, okay. And lo and behold, 2 weeks after, she called me. Mrs. Oloidi, are you still available for the volunteer work? And I said, yes, I was really excited. So I went in because somebody was leaving. So I was happy to volunteer with them. I was working with them. I was taking care of the, 3 to 4 year olds and all the rest. Pleasant period for me, enjoyable. I love children, and it kept me busy. For about 3 months I volunteered, and at the 4th month another teacher left. So I got her place and they started paying me. And before long, the director, had to leave. And so she made me the director.
She made you the director. Look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. So I was taking care of the finances, planning the program for the children, dealing with, administrative stuff and all that. And that kept me busy until we left Uzbekistan.
So you would have left a huge void after you left, because
it was a huge void, because it was hard to find another suitable director, somebody who has the education background. But we were able to I left for two other people, not one now, two had to take the place because they had to share to complement each other. One is good at this, the other is good at that, so they came together, and that was how I was able to leave, because otherwise everybody was in panic mode. The parents were like, what do we do, and all the rest. But I thank God for the many blessings. Each place we went, he would always provide something that is suitable for me.
For you. So you were able to walk all through this period while you were traveling in different...
Not in all the countries.
Yeah.
This was in Uzbekistan. Then we moved to Kenya. Then I didn't have to work. I wasn't even looking for a job. My plan was to further my education in Kenya, but until we got to know that we won't be staying, 6 months after we got to Kenya, we received words that we had to move again. 6 months.
6 months.
So I couldn't plan anything. But in the interim, I wanted to do something, because like I said, you can't be idle. So I spoke with a friend. I love children. I wanted to go back home and start a daycare program. And she said, well, you can learn how to be a good nanny. There is a school, and I know the director. Would you want me to speak to the director? I said yes. So I enrolled immediately, and I did the program. So I'm a certified nanny.
Interesting. So how long ago was your first move?
That was in 1998.
1998. Wow. How did all of this move impact your marriage? Positively, negatively?
Positively, I would say, for the fact that we are still together and we are happy. Our children are grown now. They are in their respective field. So I would say positively in many ways. Yes, I've talked about, the other side, like me not being able to, have that strong relationship with any other person other than my immediate family. And for the fact that we can't really be settled, like right now, my husband and I are thinking, maybe we should move here, maybe we should do this, maybe we should... That's what it does to us. To really settle down, say we want to rest. I think we need to work at that now. We really need to work at that, because the grandchildren will be coming now. There has to be a base. So we are working on that. But otherwise, I would say positively, because you see, traveling, they say, is education. Allows you to see a lot of things that God has blessed us with. Allowed us to meet a lot of people, important people. I mean, those who you would consider the number one in the society, we were able to mingle with them. Sometimes I look at myself and say, me, I joke with my children from my village. It's very far. And look at me here, talking with this person, sitting with this person. So it's a positive, experience. And for my marriage, it has made us to be, bonded. Because the distractions were out of the way. He doesn't have friends that he could go hang out with. He's coming back from work and coming home to meet his wife and children. I didn't have that much, circle of friends. So it's the two of us.
But that's interesting though, because you could have decided, well, he's at work and I need to fill my time, and so you could have made a lot of friends, which could have been a distraction.
I did a lot. I did, and maybe we will get there. That's how I'm able to fill my day in countries where I couldn't walk. We did, but we still have each other. We come back, we go out to meet friends, we come back and still have each other. So I think is how we started. I think it's a lot of, knowing that you're a child of God, knowing that there are certain things you can do, knowing that God has blessed you with this family, He has called you to be the caretaker of this family, and so you have to nourish what you have. And so that, I think that is our basis. So even though we go out with friends, I travel with friends to go have, weekends. But then I come back, it's my family. It's my family. It's my family.
So that foundation was there.
The foundation was there.
Interesting. And is he retired now?
He is. He's retired.
And so now that you're both retired, the traveling would have reduced a great deal. I know that you still travel a lot, but I'm sure it's not like
he was going for. Yes.
I know lots of people, when they're retired at this stage, they're having a lot of problems because there are differences that have drawn them apart. But in your own case, you have taken time to nurture a relationship. What would your advice be for people who are going through challenges in their retirement, couples who are going through challenges? What would your advice be to them?
To be honest with you, I don't think there is one advice, because you see, our situations and circumstances are different. So I can't really say, for example, go for therapy or try to, rekindle. So it depends on what their specific challenge or challenges are. That's when you know what to say to who. But generally, I would say, go back to the basics, where you started from. Like, it's the two of you from the beginning. You loved each other. That's why you are married in the first instance. Even if you have been matchmade, like arranged for each other, the fact that you have stayed together these years, and now you are retiring and you want to drift apart, no. Find something that will connect you again. It has always been there. Talk to each other. Try and encourage each other. Find what is lost, because something has to be there for both of you to be this long, apart from the children. Now look at each other. What does he want? Because we will lie if I say I don't know what makes my husband happy. Look for that and make that. You see, marriage requires sacrifice. And if you are not prepared to make that sacrifice, then things won't work. We cannot be too proud to make that sacrifice. We are meant for each other, to complement each other. When God created Adam, I'm a Christian. When God created Adam, He knew it was not good for him to be alone. So He created a helpmate. You are an helpmate. Forget about what the world is saying today. Equal right, I'm also for that. But at the same time,
there's a place for that.
Yes. And you have to know that. So when it comes to your marriage, do everything to make it stand. Don't listen to what people are saying. We are unique. We are individuals. What works for the other person may not work for you. So you find what works for you and do it. But let me say this. Make sure that you do what is right by you, do what is right by your children, and do what is right by your family. So find that and build on that. Above all, prayer is important. I have seen it work. The fact that my husband and I are very close does not mean that we didn't go through our period of challenges. We went through that. But prayer kept us together. I prayed like my life depended on it. When I was not working, what was I doing? I was praying. My friends would come and say, "Is this all you do?" Yes. This world. I'm not that old, but I've seen a lot. And I know that if you don't have a strong refuge a place you can run to in time of trouble, then I'm sorry. The wind will be blowing here and there, and you will be following the, tide. So you have to have an anchor, which is God, and you have to consistently talk to him. Tell him exactly what you want. Some people say, well, those are trivial things, I can't discuss it with God. I discuss with God my newest, the simplest things. God, make my husband love me. Make me the apple of his eyes. Let his love for you grow so that he will know how to love me.
More and better.
Keep praying. Don't neglect that part at all in whatever you do. The same for your children. And I have tasted the Lord. I know He's good. I've seen answers to prayers. So let's pray more. Even for the husbands too. Because sometimes it's not the... people tend to think it's the wife now that needs to seek the husband's love. But sometimes the husband too needs to seek the wife's love. So the husband too, pray for your spouses. Pray together. If time allows, pray together. So it's very important.
Wow, words of wisdom.
A lot of ladies may not be able to do what I did. They may not be able to stop their career for the family. I understand that, because you see, finance is part of it. But in most cases, look for something that will not take you far away from your family. And if you abandon your career to follow your husband, you see, there is that period where you feel the murky waters of loneliness. You have to have a goal. Otherwise, it leads to depression. It leads to anxiety and the feeling of loneliness. So you need to have a goal in this regard. You need to think, what do I want to do with my life? What's my goal? What's my plan? How can I make this work for me as well while carrying my family along? So, and I tell you, there will be something for each person. Depending on your need. You could take a part-time job. You could decide to do something. So we all need to have a goal. What do I want to do? In my own case, I knew I couldn't be idle. So if I'm not under any paid employment, then I look for something to do. And then my passion comes in. What do I like to do? I like to be with people. I love children. So I volunteer in schools. Let me come in. You don't have to pay me. I'll do it. My children will see me in school and say, Mom, you're still here. Yes, I'm still here. So I do that. I gather women, because you see, a lot of us are going through things. Because we were in the expat world. Majority of the women were not working. What do? We go out for coffees. We go out for dinners. It wasn't enough. And when we realized that, about 4 of us came together and said, let's do something more. Not just coffee, afternoon, dinner, night, and all the rest. You are a Christian, I'm a Christian. Why don't we start a Bible study group? And so we started. Of the 4 of us, nobody was willing to lead. And then I said, okay, I will lead. 2 were Americans. I'm a Nigerian, and I think another person from Romania. So 4 of us came together, and we started inviting other ladies. And before you knew it more, you discover that a lot of women want something like that, where they can learn about the Word of God, where they can share, where they are free. There is no judgment. Nobody's judging anybody. We are there to support each other. We pray for each other. We give advice. Oh, my children, I've been there. I read this book. It really ministered to me. Go ahead and get
sharing
it.
resources.
Like that. So find something that is your passion and click into it, because otherwise you can't be idle. You can't be idle. The devil will find a work for an idle hand. You cannot. And you know, we are all human. Sometimes our husbands do not realize our struggle. They don't know it. No matter how you communicate it. Sometimes my husband doesn't know what is depression. He will tell you, I don't want to. Once he told me, how can you sit in your house and say it's boring? It's your house. How can your house be boring? But these are things that people are feeling because have been there. He's not wired that way. I know I am. So I've told people, yes, you can sit in your house and be bored. So you need to find something. If you know you are that kind of a person, find something that is not, you know, will not impact your family in any way, that is not healthy. During the day while the children are in school, you have do something. Go swim. Do something for yourself.
Learn to swim.
Oh, yeah.
I'll learn to swim.
Do something for yourself, because yes, depression is real. It is real. Go to school if it's possible. Go back to school. Go and learn something. To get busy is important. Is important. And the men too need to understand that women are different from men. So you need to find a way to support your wife. You need to find a way to calm her down, because anxiety in a foreign country where you knew nobody. In most of our cases, we didn't even speak the language. So you contend with language, looking for where to get what, trying to make new friends and all the rest. It's tiring for a woman. It's tiring. So the man, they go to work. At work, they click. They have people to talk to. They are busy. They come back home. They don't want to talk again. They were talking all day. They want to rest. It's when I want to start talking to him. And he could say, ah. And then I'll feel bad. Like, hello, I'm also here. So we need to understand each other. We need to find something to balance it out. In Uzbekistan, we weren't doing much because my husband was traveling alone. And weekend, he will come back. Weekend is when I wanted to do something with him. He's tired, he wants to sleep. Until the wisdom that, yes, you people have different,
needs at that
time. You really need to understand.
So what did you do? How did you cross that need?
What I looked for other avenues. Like I found another friend that we do things together. I do not necessarily have to wait for my husband. I look for somebody, a native. She would take me to see this. This is where you can get this. This is what you can do with that. We'll take the tram together. This is how you take the tram. I didn't know how to take the tram. I mean, this is how you take the tram. This is the market where you can get this. We were doing that. And it was fulfilling me. Yes. So we all need to have a goal. Don't allow depression. Find something that is good for you.
So much. I'm sure we can talk about this for another hour, and we'll still get so many nuggets from you. Thank you so much for coming. And I know that you had brought some books with you that you wanted to present to us. So we're going to get those books now, and then we're going to present those books to some of our guests on this show. And yeah, it's a beautiful read. I have read this up and about myself, and yeah, there are a lot of quotes that I'm going to put on the description here from this book, and there are a lot of quotes that came from you today. Feeling the loneliness, the murky waters of loneliness is one of them. Don't be lonely. Don't get depressed. Do something. Thank you so much, Kemi Oloidi. It's such a pleasure having you here.
Thank you.
And in the next travels, we wish you all the best, and we hope that you'll come see us again soon. And update us with your next project, because I know there's a lot more where this came from. Thank you.